So I'm Eric Fisher, and I'm from Orlando, Florida. And what I do for a living is write courses to teach people programming. So I figured I'd give you a talk because going into this job as a senior developer, there was a lot of preconceptions that were frankly mistakes. We all have people in our lives who want to learn to program. It could be a son, it could be a daughter, it could be that new programmer who just joined our team. And one of the key things about learning programming or learning any technical skill is you have to have motivation. And motivation comes in many forms. It can be a flat-out reward, cash, get ice cream. It can be it's fun, you're enjoying it. It can be the risk of punishment for not doing it. It can be the feeling of accomplishment when you've finished learning whatever it is you're learning. And it can also be recognition for what you have learned. And generally, some of these are better than others. Punishment is not a good motivator. Usually you're going to do the absolute minimum possible to accomplish whatever you've been asked, and you will stop because there's no farther motivation to learn. Money's kind of the same way. You learn, you get your bonus, your raise, and unless they're offering another bonus and raise for learning more, that motivation's gone. But if you're enjoying learning, you have a feeling of accomplishment, and you enjoy the recognition from it, you're liable to continue learning as much as you can because that motivation never goes away. It just changes. One of the first mistakes you'll make is you'll go, I want to teach them the same way I learned. And that's not necessarily a bad place to start, but you have to accept not everyone learns the same way, and so a lot of cases that's not going to be the right answer. For me, when I learned programming, it looked like this. Or more realistically, it looked like this. The thing I have found from actually teaching programming is no matter what you're teaching, the faster you can get someone to accomplish something, even if it is so small and trivial, the faster you actually get some feedback from them, that some reward to them, I have done it. So instead of like traditional college courses where we'd spend, the first 3 weeks learning about the history of where this language came from, who wrote it, why they wrote it, and then 3 weeks later we're writing Hello World, we just skip to Hello World. We can feed all that back information later. So everyone's mind works differently. Some people learn better by actually getting in there and doing stuff. Some people actually do learn well from lectures. Some people, they just want to look at working code and they can figure it out by just kind of piecing it apart. And there are individuals who would like, a self-help tutorial. When you're teaching someone, the answer is you don't want to focus on just one of these, not unless you can actually sit down with your student and figure them out. So you kind of want to give them a little bit of each, so hopefully one of them will stick. Anytime you look at your learner and they have this face, you're going to need to explain it differently. One of the problems you run into is someone will say 1 + 1 = 2, and the kid goes, I don't understand. All right, well, if I take two things and I put them, if I take individual objects and I put them together, now I have two. You have to come up with different ways of explaining, different ways of showing it, whether it's visual or vocal, because the way you've explained it didn't stick. You got to try something else. Stuck is the worst place a learner can ever be. It is better to give a learner an answer and then try and teach them that concept again in a different way than to let them just sit there and beat their head on it. Someone who's stuck beating their head on it loses motivation, they stop learning. And I just made these slides, so we'll just deal with it. Another problem you run into as a senior developer is you go, I want to do this right by the start. I don't want my developer to learn, we're just going to use this method in this way. You're going to look at this one concept. You go, no, testing is important. Asynchronous is important where appropriate. All of this other stuff. And you end up building so much that while you're trying to teach someone a simple concept, you pile all this other garbage on that they do want to learn eventually, but you're jumping them right to the chase, and it's just too much at once. I'm going to try and rush because I know my time is limited. So think of teaching like eating. You want to keep it in small bite-sized amounts, nice and simple, one topic at a time. Give the person a chance to practice, to mull it over, to process it, to understand it, truly internalize it. Don't try to give them too much too fast because you're just going to stop them in their tracks. They're going to get stuck. And you can only do so much learning at a time before you need a break. The brain can only do so much before fatigue becomes a problem. You should never, ever tell a learner, you can't, you won't, you don't get it, you failed, or anything of that nature. The moment you've given that finality that they've messed up, it's over. And I am out of time. So.